Hello, Alan Simpson here from Young Living Essential Oils, and I'm an independent distributor. Now, what I've come to tell you about today is GERD. And probably some of you are going, yeah, I know what that is. And some people in Australia are going to go, what? Because it's something that's more American than it is Australian. It stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease. Now, which one of you out there has gone, ooh, man, that tastes shocking? Anyone? Yeah. I think there's a few of you have gone, yeah, I've felt that. It burns as it's coming up. What are you going to do when that happens? Well, I'll tell you, you're actually going to end up going to the doctor. And the doctor's going to say, Mr. Jones, I think you have an acid reflux problem. And you're going to go, what can I have to fix it? I'll do anything. And he says, I'll give you this tablet. You'll take this tablet and it'll go down and you're going to go, Doc, you're a miracle worker. I feel so good now. It's fixed my problem. So let's presume, now you're going to have to follow me here with I'm a great artist. You're going to follow me here with my wonderful diagrams. I might draw in red, maybe you'll be able to see it a bit better. But here we go. Here's a mouth. How's it? I know it looks like an animal of some sort, but no, you just have to believe me, it's a mouth. And I'm going to draw a stomach here. Just here, I'm going to put a little duodenum and going to do some small intestines. All right, that'll do. So let's presume you've had, let's presume you're like 18 years of age. There's your stomach acid. Doesn't look like stomach acid, but you just have to believe me, it's stomach acid. You're 18 and the world is at your feet. Everything is going fine. You've eaten your meal, you've had whatever you want to eat, you've had your chips and you've had your Coke and you had your pizza, you've had double thick cheese on your pizza, and you go, I feel great. Man, let's go and get things done. That's good. Why is it possible to eat pizza and cheese when you're young? Well, for a start, what's the pH of your stomach? Roughly 2.5, okay? What is 2.5 pH? What does that mean? Well, if you had some hydrochloric acid, you could actually put a nail in that. Good chance it'll disappear by morning. It's pretty harsh environment for a piece of steel. Your stomach has a harsh environment too, and very much like that. So let's presume that now you've got a pH of 2.5 and you've had a pizza or maybe a few slices of pizza. Here's your pizza in there, bit of pepperoni on it, thick with cheese. What about if you had a little cup of Java, get your coffee in there, there's fumes come out from your coffee. Over here you've had a bowl of your favourite cereal. What about a chocolate bar in here? And what else can we have? How about we have a packet of chips? Throw an orange in here for good measure. All right, so there's your meal. Hey, what about a piece of toast? Let's throw a piece of toast in there as well, with a bit of jam on it. So you've had your nice meal in there and you've now got your 2.5 pH, and guess what's going to happen? Fortunately, this pH is so harsh, not just hydrochloric acid, you've got Pepsin and other very acid-forming substances in your stomach. Trypsin, chymotrypsin, all right? There's some words you don't need to know, but this is a harsh environment. It's designed to break things down, which it will do that. 2.5 is very good at doing that. So your stomach's digested it, it's gone into the duodenum, it's gone into the small intestines, and everything is going quite nicely. All the way down, up large intestines, and down here you start pooping it out. Great. Let's presume now you're 40. I know there's not many people out there that are 40. I know you're all young and virile. Let's rub this out, and I'll show you another scenario. This scenario is your pH now has changed, has gone more alkaline because you're older and you're not actually producing the same acid. Let's say it's about 5 to 6 pH. Now let's have, I shouldn't have rubbed that off, should I? Now let's put into your stomach some toast. Let's put a slice of pizza in there. There's our apple. We'll have an apple this time. And what else? Let's have a hot dog. I'm not too good at drawing hot dogs. I'm not too good at drawing anything. But anyway, I think you get the picture. Now what's going to happen? Hang on, let's have a can of Coke. We'll put Coke in there. All of this is floating around in this acid liquid in your stomach. And you've got a pH of 5 or 6. Now that's more on the alkaline side. Guess what happens? Well, you don't actually digest a lot of this because it starts to ferment. Look at that. They're fumes, by the way. Fumes of rotting dinner because it's not being digested properly and you're feeling a little bit uneasy. It feels like there's indigestion, or you might have some heartburn, and then all of a sudden you go, burp, oh, yuck, and you've got to reach for the glass of water. Oh, that's so uncomfortable. Well, the reason why it's uncomfortable and why it feels like it's acid is these fumes are actually starting to go like alcohol. Now, where these fumes are going to go is up here, and this can actually start to cause inflammation in the esophagus. As it's going up, and all of a sudden, burp, out comes the cloud of disgusting yuck. And you then go, well, dear, I think I need to go and see the doctor. So you go to the doctor, you sit there for an hour waiting, and he finally gets you to come in, and he says to you, Mr. Jones, what seems to be the problem? And you explain this to him. And he says, all right, I can fix that fairly easy. I'm going to give you some Alka-Seltzer, or some Gaviscon, or Pepto-Bismol, if you're in America, or Tums, also if you're in America. We don't have them in Australia. Or what about Mylanta? I think we got that. So I think you're actually have heard of some of those. So what's that actually going to do for your stomach? And why does it make you feel good? Well, the job of any of those that I just mentioned is to destroy the acid. Now, if you're going to destroy the acid, you're going to have something that's going to stop or be called the H2 blockers or antagonists, H2 antagonists, which some of these drugs are. So what that means is they're going to now stop or neutralize this, what you would think as acid, and it would stop this uncomfortable feeling. All right? So you actually feel like it's been fixed. In actual fact, what has happened is you've caused that rotting food that's in this stomach area to actually just be that, rotting. It's going to rot, and something has to happen in there. Your body's so intelligent, it's going to pull the plug in this area here, which connects your stomach to your small intestines. The duodenum has got a little valve in there. And that valve will open and pour all of this into the small intestines. And you go, hallelujah, I feel a lot better now because my stomach feels good, but now it's empty and it's gone into the small intestines. So What's happened then? Well, you've now got this rotting mass thanks to the Alka-Seltzer or the Tums or whatever it is you've had to destroy that acid. By the way, guess what's in some of those formulas that I mentioned, some of those drugs? Aluminium, or for the Americans watching, aluminum. Got to say that properly. What do you think aluminum does when it gets into the body? Well, there's a lot of evidence around that's causing things like multiple sclerosis, motor neurons, dementia, Lou Gehrig's, MS, goes on. These can be an antagonist and be a cause of some of these problems. So you don't want to be putting drugs into your body that actually have aluminium in them. And there's a lot of drugs that have. So now back to this. What's going to happen in here? Well, let me just rub this off for a second. I'm going to take a little snippet, little piece of the small intestines here, and I'm going to blow that up for you. And let me show you something. You still with me? John, wake up. Yeah, that's better. I'm going to act like a terrorist for a minute and blow a small part of these intestines up. Let's say there's a cell and there's another cell. These are little cells of the small intestines called enterocytes. Now, enterocytes grow on them little microvilli, little tiny hairs. Now, enterocytes is the name of the cell that makes up the small intestines. Like endothelial cells, the name of cells that make up the bloodstream. They're a kind of like an enterocyte. Endothelial cells are. That makes up the actual, the round part of a vein or an artery. Now, see this little section here? There's the stomach, by the way, which I've taken the stomach out so you can't see it. But there's the small intestines and there's the large intestines. I'm going to take a little section of this, I'm going to blow that little part up. And there it is. That's the enterocyte. On the enterocyte, you have little microvilli, which are hairs. So can you see the resemblance? Probably not. Use your imagination. Now, these here, there's hundreds and hundreds of these, of course, that make up the small intestines with these little hairs. Their job is to capture nourishment. If they don't capture the nourishment, they're going to float past and you're not going to be fed. But remember the low pH of around 6 or 7 of that mix of pizza and coffee and all this other trash that didn't get digested properly because the acid wasn't strong enough or the pH wasn't low enough. It got poured into the small intestines because the body said, I'm sick of this stuff, I don't know what to do with it. I've got to get rid of it. So it dumps it into the small intestines. And it then has to deal with this mishmash of rubbish. So the best it can do is start to pass it through here. While it's passing it through here, it's actually quite toxic. It might have aldehydes and alcohols and all sorts of chemicals in there that really should not be in the small intestines. So what happens? It causes leaky gut syndrome. Now, we've all experienced that at some time. Well, a lot of us have. Where you get bloated after a meal and you feel like you're 6 months pregnant. Well, this is one of the reasons why. The candida, which is a good bacteria that we need, but actually becomes an overgrowth of that bacteria, it actually forms, well, more gases. So here's this little section here that's blown up here. Why does the undigested food slip through these enterocytes? Well, the toxicity of the food that's come through the stomach, which hasn't been digested properly, causes these to actually have quite a large gap. So the gap between those cells that make up the small intestines grows apart. The enterocytes are no longer close together, they're apart. So what happens? You have a little piece of your pizza. There's your pizza. It's going to slip through this hole. get into the bloodstream. What happens when you have a whole piece of pizza in your bloodstream? Well, you have little killer cells that come out like the front firing line of an army, and they start mowing them down. They go in there and gobble them up, and in gobbling them up, they create a very acid environment as well as a negative acid, because you don't want acid in your bloodstream of the wrong pH either. So you're actually creating gases within the blood that you don't want, and they're toxic gases. That's what you call leaky gut, because you have pizza and coffee and Mars bars and Hershey bars and all that stuff getting into your bloodstream. So now, how do we stop this? How do we heal the gap between here? This is where essential oils come into it. Before I go on too much with the essential oils, I forgot to mention one thing. When you get that food into the small intestines, which then eventually gets into the large intestines, guess what that could possibly cause? Have you heard of Crohn's disease? Have you heard of ulcerative colitis? Spastic colon? Pockets in the colon? Because what happens, that wrong chemistry that's now in these small intestines upsets the peristalsis. Now, what is peristalsis? Well, if you can imagine a tube of toothpaste here, and I'm holding it and I'm squashing one end and bring my fingers down like that, one after the other, you can imagine all the toothpaste can go out through the hole. Now, imagine that I've got that tube of toothpaste and I'm now going to squash this one and this one, if you can see it. Now, I'm pushing both ends. In other words, it's going to push it up in the center, isn't it? It's not going to come out the hole. That's what can happen here with the electrical current that the brain sends to different positions along the colon to tell it to contract. It's an electrical impulse which is operating a muscle, and that muscle then contracts like that and moves the food along. So those electrons, I like to use, electrodes or little wires to make it simple to understand, that come from the brain, they're wired to the small intestines, tells it to contract. Each little section of this would have another wire going to it to help it contract, to move the matter along so that you can poop it out. If that's upset, then you're going to end up with one of those diseases, possibly one of those diseases that I mentioned. So then how do we get the electrical charge and the peristalsis to get back into some sort of normality? And that's what I'd like to show you now. If I was to tell you that there's a way to get rid of that uncomfortable bloating feeling after dinner and that horrible acid feeling that's actually coming up, would that be of help to you? Remember, it's not actually an acid. It's a rotting and fumes going on in your stomach. Oh, you're very lucky, because I actually have here in my hands an authentic grade Young Living fennel. Now, I don't know if you can see that in there, but I can take, whoops, too many, 3 or 4 drops of that I've just got in my mouth. And don't do that with another fennel, because remember, as we explained before, that I can do it because it is an authentic fennel. No synthetics, there's nothing dangerous in it. Now, what does fennel do? Well, for a start, fennel increases hydrochloric acid in the stomach. It actually brings the pH down to, closer to your 2.5, where you can break down those particles of food so they don't rot in your stomach. So that's a good idea. Another one is peppermint. Now, I have a favourite in peppermint. I will drink 2 bottles of this a month easy. There's my peppermint. And just to show you why would I have peppermint. A couple of drops of peppermint. Whew, that gives you a hit. I'll tell you, you're alive when you've got peppermint in there. Increases your energy. Peppermint is one of the most amazing oils. They're all amazing. But peppermint has a frequency, which we're going to cover later, of 78 megahertz. That frequency is very close to the human body, which means whatever you put peppermint in, especially water, it helps the absorption of the water into the cells. And that's important. But another really amazing thing about peppermint is that it's a digestion enhancer, and it stimulates peristalsis. Whoa, where did I hear that name before? Peristalsis. Remember, I explained how the peristalsis is the actual muscles contracting and pushing the food and the digestive juices through the colon, or through the small intestine, through the colon. Well, that's peristalsis. And it just so happens that you're lucky because peppermint increases that by sending the electrical impulses down to that area. Remember those little compartments in each, like the colon is made up of compartments? They're actually compartments of muscles. And one will contract, the other will contract, the next one will contract, and it eases along through that very, very long tube, 27 or 30 feet of it. So would that be a good idea, to have fennel and peppermint inside you? You betcha. And I'd take a lot of it. So peppermint is known, if you look on, do a Google search and look at digestion or Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis or pockets in the colon, any of those, and you do a search on Google and you ask for it to spring up information on peppermint, you'll find that some of the medical research is very clear that peppermint is obviously one that helps that. But you're probably thinking, well, why doesn't my doctor give me peppermint oil? A very good reason. Some of the studies they did on peppermint, the pure, authentic peppermint, a peppermint like this one, this is what they found out, that what I just told you a minute ago. Now, if you wanted to market this via pharmaceutical companies or through the medical industry, you couldn't market that because it's not patented. So who's going to spend money on marketing a particular product if they haven't got it for their own self? They like marketing substances that they can patent by law. Nobody can produce it. Anybody can go and produce a peppermint. So therefore, they're not going to make it public that that is actually a very good substance to use, because they won't make any money out of it. Now, this particular one is the real peppermint. There's many, many other types of peppermint on the market, but there's only one that is authentic, and that's the one that was grown out of the ground that our Creator actually made, and it's been distilled into a bottle. Now, the next oil is aniseed. Aniseed increases the electrical frequency in the gut, helps parasites to leave. They hate the frequency of aniseed. Again, remember these sounds, these frequencies that make up these oils are actually sounds. And when you get a higher vibration with a lower vibration, it actually makes it get away from it. That's why parasites hate these oils, and aniseed is one of them. There's another one called, and I don't have that bottle here because it doesn't come in an individual oil, and it comes with certain other products as blends. Caraway is another oil. Again, I don't have that one here to show you. But caraway soothes the bowel and eases digestive discomfort. Put your hand up if you want that one. Yes, please. I'll take a litre of that one. What about another oil of lemon? Now, if you could get all of these oils together, all going into your stomach to help to get rid of this GERD, that's a good suggestion, isn't it? Let's have a look at this other one I just mentioned, lemon. Now, there it is. There's my lemon. Fortunately, lemon is a little bit easier to get because it actually comes out of the rind of the leaf. Of the skin. Yeah. Whoops, take a few drops of lemon. Man, that's good for balancing pH, that's for sure. Because that's one of the main purposes of lemon, is to balance pH. It's also antifungal. and it also stimulates cleansing. We all know that lemon is great for cleansing. So another very, very good oil to have inside the stomach if you have this problem. What about the last one, ginger? And I'm sorry I don't have ginger. Oh, yes I do. I forgot, I do have ginger. Here, it helps liver cleansing and reduces acidity. Also great if you're going on a trip. Well, I don't know if you can see those drops coming in. But if you're going on a trip on a boat, ginger is great. Put it behind the ears, put it around the neck, even under the tongue. So there we've got fennel, peppermint, aniseed, caraway, lemon and ginger. 6 very powerful essential oils specific for digestion and helping peristalsis to push the liquid and the food that you've eaten smoothly through the digestive tract to come out your butt, or butski, which is a Polish butt, easily. If I was to tell you that there is one product that has all of them in it, then I think you should be excited. It's called Digest and Cleanse. So take a look at Digest and Cleanse. It is a capsule that's enterically coated with all of these oils in it. Now, what's enterically coated mean? Well, an enterically coated capsule means that it's actually coated with a coating that opens only in a certain pH. Now, remember I said the pH of the stomach is suitably around 2.5, the pH of the small intestines should be around about 8. The capsule's been designed, it's actually wrapped around those oils. Now remember there's nothing else in there, just an oil. And there it is, can you see it there? That little coating around it is the science that's behind how and why this works. So enterically coated means that it'll only open in an environment that's alkaline. So then, if your stomach's alkaline, what's going to happen when you take it? Remember, your stomach should be acid, which means that little enterically coated capsule should be hard, which means it won't open in the stomach. It will only open in the small intestines. So if I have a Digest and Cleanse and my stomach is what? Alkaline, guess what? Burp, what am I going to taste? Well, where's it gone? I'm going to taste peppermint, because peppermint is part of it, and that's the strongest smell you're going to taste, or sorry, you're going to smell. So if you've just burped up peppermint after you've had a Digest and Cleanse, by the way, that should be taken first thing in the morning. What you do, you set your alarm, 6 o'clock, you have the Digest and Cleanse sitting on the table beside your bed, you got your glass of water, you open your eyes, pop the pill, take a drink, and you can lie back down again. Complete empty stomach. Then after a half an hour or so, you get up, have a shower, and get ready to have breakfast. 45 minutes has passed. If you've had a pizza the night before, and your stomach acid's not quite right, guess what? You quite possibly will burp up peppermint. You've now diagnosed a low pH in your stomach. Yeehaw! Didn't have to go to the doctor, didn't have to sit in a waiting room, you didn't have to go anywhere to find that out. How good's that? Now, how many times is this going to happen? Depends on yourself. The next morning you might do the same thing. Might have a peppermint come up again. This might happen for a month. I know people that have had it happen for a month and a half, 2 months. I know people that have had it happen once. Depends on yourself. But you can rest assured that those oils that are in that capsule, thanks to the enteric coating, will fix up the condition of your stomach. And once your stomach acids are back to where they should be, guess what happens to that little capsule? It doesn't open anymore. It'll then pass through the valve into the small intestine where it'll quite comfortably open. How good's that? You've now fixed the hydrochloric acid problem in your stomach. No more antacids, no more aluminium, which is in those antacids. Google that, by the way, and just check me. There's a lot of those drugs that have aluminium in it. And then one of the main form of antacid is aluminium. So you don't want to be taking those things. So then once that bit of time has elapsed and you've been taking these capsules internally for quite a while, bingo, your digestion's starting to get good now. And you can now start to digest things a lot better. You're going to break the food down a lot better. You're going to get rid of your candida, leaky gut. Your stomach, when you go to the toilet, it can be a lot freer. So I hope that's been of help to you today. 1 capsule a day is enough as a maintenance dose. 2 to 3 capsules, and again, have them on an empty stomach. None of this full stomach business for oils. We want them on an empty stomach. Because remember, there's nothing in there to damage the liver. There's nothing in there to damage the delicate, the mucosa lining on your stomach wall. Normally drugs, you've got to have food so that it has got a bit of a buffer. Well, with an essential oil, no, you don't do that. On an empty stomach is the best, especially when it's enterically coated. So I hope that's been useful to you. Sure it has. One more thing, Crohn's disease and peppermint, search that on Google too, check me out. Those Digest and Cleanse capsules we know have fixed people's Crohn's disease. Now you know that Crohn's is a very difficult one to fix, and it's happened more than once. I know it's probably a dozen times it's helped people. So enjoy your Digest and Cleanse. You can order it from Young Living, and I would certainly suggest taking, if you feel like you don't get bloating, have 1 per day. 1 per day, this bottle will last a month. If you've got digestive issues, you'd need 3 of those. But you don't need to do it for 1 or 2 months. And then go back to just 1 bottle a month. I take 1 bottle a month all the time, and I tell you, and Linda, my wife, our daughter, would never ever be without it.